Welcome to Season 2 of Unspoken Truth. This will be a journey of self discovery, healing, and bringing out the best version of ourselves and learning the art of being unapologetic, secure in who we are, and loving ourselves first before we love others, knowing when to choose ourselves and letting go of what doesn't serve us. Join me on this journey of discovering unspoken truths and changing the narrative. This is from a woman who's just like you, a mother, a sister, a daughter, and God's child, and in everything else in between. I am still an individual riding the waves of life. I am Nita Terry T, your host of Unspoken Truth. In this episode, we'll be talking about Dear You, how do you identify? I am Anita Ndipange, also known as Nita Terry T. My pronouns are her, she. I identify as bisexual, pansexual, in the verge of also exploring polyamory. For the longest of time, I've been searching for who I am, trying to embrace it. Labels are like cages. At times, you don't want to identify for anyone because you feel like any other heterosexual person out there isn't. The only difference is that my sexual preference is different from others. I just fall in love with whomever I fall in love with. I'm attracted to souls. Let me tell you a story. Back in my high school days, teen life can truly be the hardest because you want to be cool and accepted by friends and all the cute boys in school. So you put on this mask, a mask of acceptance. I remember back in high school, early days, every time I went home from boarding school, I would bump into this girl. She was famous and still is. Yo TV, child star, Sade. She's cute, isn't she? I liked her style and how she looked. I thought she was damn cool. So in high school, I had my first kiss. It wasn't with a boy, it was with this beautiful senior. She was pretty and smart. She knows herself if she's listening. I had asked her to teach me how to kiss. I was scared to kiss my boyfriend at that time. So she showed me how it was done. Who knew kisses would feel so good? I kissed a girl and I liked it. I took no mind to why it felt that way. I was in a Christian school. We knew the Bible, church, grades. That's it. Everything else led to corporal punishment when it was still a thing back then. I was just a teenage girl going through a life journey with so many things. I had no time to think about why I found girls intriguing so as boys. Towards the end of senior year, I met someone who changed my views on who I had to date and who I wanted to date. A relationship that opened my horizon on who I was and who I was comfortable being. I chose not to identify at that time because I loved being me. I didn't care what the world thought of me, even my family. I couldn't be bothered. Now I'm in my 30s with a son. Through it all, I've always just wanted to be me. I didn't want to explain, I just love humans. I don't like the idea behind labels on who I love and why I love them. There are so many labels, but in reality, we all just human. Not only am I trying to perfectly fit in my skin, I have to make others feel comfortable in their skin too, especially African families who suffer from what will people say? Abantu bazothini. The relationship journey is always the hardest to find your match. Someone who sees you for you, doesn't see your sexuality as a factor in their insecurities. This can also lead to them projecting their issues on you. That's another topic for another episode. Though, now imagine identifying and being a mom. The first question I get is, how did you end up with a child? I stand there puzzled, thinking, how are children made again? Maybe we should do biology again. Did I say I'm bisexual? Must I repeat myself? So I think you know how children are made. Then I get questions like, but you're so feminine. Okay. What does that mean? How am I supposed to look? The one question that gets to me is, how will you explain this to your son? Here I am thinking, well, he's my son after all, right? So, meaning I have the answers to the questions he might have. I think every lesbian girl, bisexual girl has heard this all their life. So, who is the man in the relationship? As if we're trying to have a heterosexual relationship. We just love who we love and sleep with whom we wish to sleep with. We do not conform to toxic masculinity. We just love. We just love. We literally live on love. Okay, so there is no man or woman, there is just love. As I grew older, I have realized that there are more eyes on me, on who I'll end up with, and what type of home I'll be raising my son. My father even brought that up. What home will you be raising my grandchild in? I didn't acknowledge his text because what answer did he want from me? All I know is that the home I want my son to grow up in is a home filled with love that isn't selective, a home he feels safe, a home where isms are not allowed, where love reigns supreme. That's what I know and that's what I want for him. Love should never mean having to live in fear. Dashawn Stokes. The world has done just that, made us live in fear. We have conformed to what the world throws at us. The hate, the pain, comes from those who see themselves as more deserving heterosexuals than normals, while we are just bystanders of life. What troubles me is the labels. Heterosexuals have no labels. They go about their lives doing whatever they want with no questions. When a person loves whomever they love, there should be a name for it, a label. Why don't heterosexuals come out? So why should we? Because we all bleed the same blood, have the same aspirations and dreams. I wanted this episode to be more of a discussion. I have guests with me, so exciting, who will help me unpack today's topic of identifying, sharing their stories with us, and hopefully it will bring some light to us all, and also the young ones out there who are still trying to figure out um, who they are and who they love. So join me on this journey of identifying.
Oh, hello.
Hey,
Yeah, finally. Thokoza mkhulu.
Thokozan.
Finally. Oh my God. I almost lost it. I'm like, what's going on?
It's just leave me.
Vumile. Oh, that's so great. That's so great. Okay, before network, what do you call this? Distract us. I guess let's jump into it.
Yes.
Let's quickly jump into it. So, hi Nino.
Hi.
Thank you for joining me on this episode. Can you tell my listeners who you are briefly before we dive into the topic?
My name is Ayanda Nino Maposa, and I'm a black trans man in South Africa, and I'm also pansexual, polyamorous. I'm a professional boxer and photographer, and also in Twasa, going to be a traditional healer in Inyanga. Yes.
Yes. That's so great. That's a lot. That's a lot, but that's really great.
Yes.
So this episode is called Identifying. And I just wanted you to take us through your journey of identifying. By me saying your journey of identifying, I'll share a little bit about myself. I'm Anita, the host of
Yes.
Unspoken Truth. I reside in Australia, Melbourne, but I am born South African, lived in South Africa, only left South Africa about a year ago. It will be 2 years this year on work. But
Yes.
when I say the journey of identifying, for me, it was so hard because I identify as bisexual. And it took a long time for me to accept self before actually wanting to come out to the world. And also, I'm also still in the journey of knowing that, yes, I am bisexual, but I actually think I also identify as pansexual.
Yes.
So personally, I'm still going through that journey, even if I've always known who I was since I was 13. But I feel like every single time as I grow and mature into this woman I am, I'm still learning who I am. So how has been your journey of identifying?
It's been a roller coaster for me identifying, especially when you don't know the language. Like, what are you? What are you feeling? And not even having enough information around the terms, the language, and everything. So for me, I knew that I was different when I was still young, when I was like 4 years old. That's where I knew that I was different. And now growing up in the society where they tell you that you identify as this, and you're like, no, but I identify as a man. What do you mean when you say I'm a woman?
Yes.
So for me, it took time. It took time for me to like really sink in that we have two genders. And I was like, no, I might be a different boy. So
yes.
I think it took like 24 years for me to know the language, what I am. And because of lack of resources here, my only reference was going to YouTube and having to see reference from white trans man.
Mm-hmm.
And not finding reference of black trans man. So now it made it difficult for me to actually say, do I really identify as a man? Because I don't see any black references for me. So yeah, I basically can say when I was 4 years old, that's where I knew, really, really feel deep down that I don't identify as being a woman. And
it had to be such a tough journey for you. I mean, I feel like it's such a tough journey for us Black African people raised in strict Black African families, where being true to yourself is like abantu bazothini.
yes.
Our family members are more concerned about abantu bangaphandle than loving and caring about you as an individual. So
yes.
how was that journey for you now, having to be a Black child, having to now say, I feel this way, I know I represent as, to a Black parent? How did that go for you?
Yeah, our parents suffer from Avant routine, and unfortunately, my family is one of those Avant routine.
Yeah.
And also growing up in a Christian family, it was really difficult because they don't understand the queer community.
Yeah.
So I got disowned when I came out as a trans, and yeah, I had to be homeless, be a street kid, and really couldn't understand also what's the term that what's the next step for me to transitioning and everything. But the family wasn't supporting, and yeah, it was difficult. So our parents don't understand what we go through, what are we feeling. They think that we're hurting them. They think we're punishing them.
Yeah.
When you come out as gay, lesbian, or trans, or intersex, or and something, they think we're punishing them, or they didn't do enough. But it's not about them.
Yeah, that's so true. And
yeah.
I heard you saying that you got disowned and you ended up in the streets. What kept you going, Nino? What kept you going? What kept you to a point where when we look at you on the social media platforms, you're a person full of life, full of love, full of joy? What gave you that motivation to keep on going? Because you know how childhood trauma is the foundation of who we become. But how did you surpass that hurt and that pain for you to actually say, you know what, I'm going to live for Nino. I don't care what my family has put me through. I am going to live for me. How did you manage that?
For me, I would say therapy. Therapy helped me a lot. As a Black person, as a Black child, we don't go to therapy as much. But therapy for me helped me a lot. Praying also helped me a lot. But also, I had to go back to the places that hurt me the most. I had to go back to the people that molested me, raped me, the people that hurt me, the people, my family. I had to go back again and say, where's your mindset? Where are you at? I know it's difficult for you. I had to put myself in their shoes at the end of the day.
Yes.
Because they went from raising a daughter to having a son. It's difficult for them. Yes, they had to react some type of way, but I had to go back and say, this is who I am now. If you want to be in my life, this is the terms and the condition. But I was doing it for myself, for my healing, to go back to those places that hurt me the most. And because I knew if I do that, my end goal was me being happy and me becoming the man that I always wanted to be, who is dealt with their childhood traumas, who, healing. I had to heal myself first to be better for other people, but I needed to be better for myself. So I had to do that. I had to put my happiness first. So I did it for myself to say, you know what, this is the man that I'm becoming today,
Yes.
and this is how I'm gonna do this. So what made me continue to do that is for my happiness. It's for me to be
Yeah.
happy, for me to
Yeah.
breathe, to breathe and not feel chest pains and not feel pain anymore. Not me getting to depression that I don't love myself or I don't feel like I should leave. I wanted to leave, so I had to go through those things for me to live and breathe and be happy.
Yeah, that's so true. Where I work, I work for an engineering firm, and I'm also part of diversity and inclusion in the company,
Yes.
changing the face of people in companies, right? So I literally fall under the LGBTIQ community within the company itself. And I wanted to ask you, how do you see diversity changing? How do you see inclusion, especially in corporate companies and any other company, be it retail, be it fast foods? Where do you see the world, how do you see the world changing for it to be diverse and inclusive? Because what I've come to realize is that as much as we petition for, awareness and actually using the right pronouns, because I remember when I started at this company, coming from South Africa, I was making a cup of coffee and a colleague of mine said, so where's your boyfriend, or are you married? And then I said to her, why do you assume, because I'm looking very feminine, why do you assume I've got a husband? She goes, oh, sorry. And I'm like, yeah, I have a partner. And she's like, oh, okay, my bad. And at that point, I then realized that obviously we need to start changing the conversations we have in companies and start having and start using the right pronouns. We must not assume people's statuses or how they identify. And I wanted to ask you, how do you see people changing the community to be inclusive, inclusive of trans men, inclusive of trans women, especially because you, as I invited you, I wanted you to speak inclusively for trans men, because that's how you identify. How do you see the world accommodating a trans man, and equally so, where in a company you fit in, where even the generations to come, they fit in as him, and it's okay? Like how do you visualize that?
Yeah. I always say that we have a long way to go, especially in Africa. We have a long way to go because we need to start educating people about transgender people. For example, I always get like DMs, people asking me, what do I eat? How do I communicate? How do I love? How do I have sex? So basically, I'm not a human being. So we need to start like from the beginning
basics
to educate. Even in a queer community, a lot of people are so confused about trans people. So we need to first do the work, like educate, and then go into corporate spaces. Also, it's a very, very difficult issue because now you're working at that company as a woman. Now you transition to a trans man. Now you're going to get colleagues who are like, we're not comfortable with Nino going into the men's toilet. Nino's going to rape me. You can't even go to the female's toilet because you don't identify as female. Now they don't even know how to call you or what, they just get confused or they're just being irritated or something. So it's a long way. I feel like I don't really have an answer for this, but I only can say that we need to just educate first and do workshops, especially for like companies, corporates, every workspace. They need to learn that some people are non-binary, some people are trans. If Nino started working there 5 years ago and now Nino's a man, you need to respect that and say, okay, Nino's now a man, we need to present that. Nothing has changed. It won't affect my work. It's none of you. It won't even affect you.
It's at all.
Me. So we need to say, you know what, this is about me, it's not about you, it's not about the company, it's not about my work. I'm still going to be here for the work and everything, but this is what I'm presenting now.
Yeah.
and you need to respect this. So I feel like for now we need to just educate now before we go to another level.
Yes.
We need to start like educating from the beginning. What is transgender? What are pronouns?
That's quite true. It's just building that foundation. For me, I've always felt like, I think with me, before I even tapped into understanding, you can be part of the community, but you do not understand other people. But one thing I
Yes.
always see people as is human. They bleed like me. They eat, they
Thank
sleep. Therefore, I'm going to treat a person as a human.
Yes.
I feel like when we get to a point where we realize that people, no matter who they are human. Treat them that way. The same way you'd want to be treated, treat a person that way. And for me, I think that's how I also personally started having this thing of who is Anita. As much as I go around saying I'm bisexual, I do it for society. But internally, I feel like, but I just love people.
You like what you like.
Because I fall in love with souls. I don't have time for what's what shows at the outside or whatever. For me, it's how the soul attracts me. That's more powerful than what everybody else wants to see, whether it's gender, whether it's this or that. And I find it so hard because my father said a statement to me just recently. He said to me, "Oh, you need to make sure because I've got a son, you need to raise your son in a more normal environment."
Wow.
And when he said that, I said
environment?
to him, love is a normal environment. Love is a normal environment. There is nothing beyond love. And I know where he was going with that topic, but I didn't want to entertain ignorance. Therefore, I said to him, love, because what is the use of trying to force to give what society deems as normal? What do I gain? Why must I sacrifice my happiness because I want to give the normal? But I don't want to teach my son normal. I want to teach my son that the world is very vast. It is different. You'll wake up tomorrow and you're going to be flying. Tomorrow you're going to wake up and you're going to learn about African spirituality and accept it. Do not be demonized as a Black child. You have to be whoever you want to be. Love.
Yes, that's true. And love is broad. I always tell people love is broad.
Yes.
There's different types of shades of love. Because a lot of people ask me, why are you polyamorous? And I'm like, I want to experience all shades of love while I'm still alive, and I'm in love with the souls. I don't care what you identify as bisexual, lesbian, gay man, trans man, or trans woman, or non-binary, as long as we connect. Why
spiritually
should we hold ourselves? Let's date, So basically, I feel like love is broad. I feel like there's all shades of love. Children can grow in any way, and children need to educate themselves with that. They'll be free also. They'll be the next generation where they're gonna come to us and say, Dad, I met a boy at school and my son. I'm like, okay, son, it's fine.
Yes, go for it.
Cool. Do you like this boy? Go for it. Oh, my friend is like this. I'm like, okay, cool. What do you think we should do? Do you want to date him? Do you want to be a friend, or do you want to help them? So we're creating that safe space for the kids to come to us because we didn't have that safe space. For when we were growing up, we didn't have the language when we were growing up. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't want us to go on and on because there's other people who are also going to be on the podcast, which is very exciting.
Yes.
But I've got a few more questions for you. And one of them is, if you were to go back in time to tell your young self advice, what would it be? What would you tell little Nino?
I will tell them that it's going to be okay. Find help. I don't know how would you find help, but find help to talk to someone, to deal with the traumas. You're not drowning. Breathe. Breathe. You're gonna get there slowly but surely. Yes.
And if tables were turned and now my listeners are listening, I have the privilege to have younger listeners who are 14, 15, 18. What would you tell them, who are still trying to identify, who are still trying to figure out who they are? What advice would you give somebody at that age? What do they have to do? identifying and also being Black, what would be your advice to them?
I would say go to therapy. I'm big on therapy.
Me
I
too.
would not lie. I'm big on therapy because you need to deal with the trauma before, and you can find references from. I'm always on my DMs. I'm always available. If you need
Yes.
advice, you need guidance. I'm not a professional. I'm gonna do is
You're a
help
student
you.
of life.
Yes, with my experience, to guide you where to do and what to do, and the rest you can get it. But first therapy, and then find references. I don't mind helping. If I have time, I will reply. Research about it. Go to Google. Read a lot. And find it there. But the most important thing is that breathe. Breathe. Take care of yourself. Look at yourself in the mirror, and love yourself first. Because also these things are expensive. So you need to start within yourself. Give yourself affirmations. Go to gym, exercise if you have to, build your chest. If you have to, buy a binder. If you have to, build your chest. Do your exercises to have that deep voice before you even you start your testosterone. Yeah.
Yeah. And then what would you tell mothers out there who are raising kids and do not know what the future holds? What would be your advice if their child decides to say, "Hey mom, I'm trans, I'm lesbian, I'm bi, I'm this, I'm this." What would your advice to be young parents who are in their 30s? What would you tell them?
I would tell them it's not about you. Don't catch feelings.
Don't catch feelings.
don't catch feelings. It's not about you. And please remove the syndrome of abantu bazuthini. What are people gonna say? Think about your child's happiness, how happy it is. It's so painful. I remember there was a time where I met this girl. She was the love of my life, and she broke my heart. And I had to go back home, and I was sharing a bed with my mom, and I had to turn around and cry. It hurt so much that I couldn't even tell my mom that the woman that I love so much hurt me. And it broke me totally. So you need to create that safe space and try to understand where your child is coming from, and also go to therapy, research. Research, talk to someone and say, I don't understand this thing. I need to understand what is this.
Yes.
It's not about me punishing you, because I know a lot of Black parents are like, are you punishing me because I can't afford this?
Yeah.
It's because Uzban has this, but it's not about you. Think about your child's happiness. Think about your child's well-being. We can't control our feelings. I tried when I was still identifying as a woman. I tried dating guys. It didn't work for me. But now when I came out as a trans man, I was like, whoa, okay, wow. We can't control our feelings.
Yes.
Your child might wake up and say they are lesbian, and then next thing they'll be like, no, mom, I'm dating boys. It's fine. Allow them to explore.
Yes.
You just have to deal with your own traumas also, because our parents also have traumas that they put in the project on us.
Yes,
so
they
need to
do.
deal with their own traumas. Yeah. Deal with
That's
your own
so
traumas.
true.
Find someone to talk to. And also, I don't mind if you have a trans kid and you want to get some advice, or you want to talk to me also, because I have a lot of parents talking to me about, oh, okay, I think they're like this. I don't know what to call them, she, he, or whatever. I'm willing to help that.
Oh, that's
but
really
it's not
great.
about you.
And what is your take on coming out? What is your take on coming out? Because personally, I feel like coming out is not one story. I feel like coming out you're gonna do it for the rest of your life. That's how I feel.
Yes.
Because you can come out to your family, yes, good enough, but everywhere you go, you're gonna have to always come out, whether it's at work, whether you're making new friends. So what's your take on coming out? Is it essential? Do we have to, what is this coming out?
I've been having this conversation the whole week. Why do I have to come out? Because I feel like I'll be coming out a lot. I came out as a Black trans man. Now I have to come out as a traditional healer. I have to come out as a polyamorous. I have to come. No. For me, it's like, for me, it's like if you see me wearing ibai
Yes.
or a traditional thing, you will know the story. Like, okay, Nino is doing this. If you see me with this other woman, this other guy, this other human being, you will like,
Yes.
oh, okay. If you know the language, you're like, oh, Nino's polyamorous. Or if you don't know, you're like, oh, Nino's cheating or something.
Yes.
You know, if you see me with a guy you think Nino's gay, I'm not gonna. I think I'm at a point in my life where I don't want to come out because I'm just like you're gonna see what you're gonna see. I'm tired of coming out. I don't see the purpose of coming out.
Yes.
Straight people don't come out.
So yeah. So why should we?
Why should we announce it to the world? Like, oh, hey, I'm I'm gay. I'm trying. No, I don't have to do that. Yes, I share my journey on my socials because I want to do that because I'm doing it for the younger kids.
Yes.
Like I'm doing it for the young Ninos who didn't have information that. But if I go to a club and I meet someone and I don't feel the need for me to come out,
Yeah.
no.
That's so true. I heard you mentioning that at the beginning that you're a photographer and a professional boxer. So do you render photography services? And where can people see you boxing? Like where, when are they, you know, like where can people support your craft, if I can put it that way?
So now I'm finishing this process of Utwasa and everything. The boxing part also it's kind of like a complicated because now I'm going to the men division.
Okay.
So the whole politics now, like
yes.
So I'm still sorting out that, but soon I'm hoping by April I'll be starting to compete and everything because I'm in the process also of training. My photography also you can find it on my Instagram. Basically my whole life you can find it on Instagram.
Okay.
The whole journey of me Isangoma, the whole journey of me being a boxer, my photographing thing. I'll be starting a new project soon with my photographing. So yeah, basically on my Instas.
Yeah, perfect. That's really perfect. Thank you so much. Let's not run into everything, but because you said you also are polyamorous, I hope you join me on another episode where we're gonna tackle polyamory versus monogamy. It was supposed to be an IG live, but I'm also thinking that I'm going to also still push it into an episode on my podcast. But it would be really great to hear your side about polyamory and monogamy, and especially in the queer community. I think that would be really great.
It will be great.
Yeah, so thank you so much for joining me. And I know it was so hard and time difference is such a mess on my side, but thank you so much. Like right now it's almost 1 a.m. So thank you so much.
Oh my Lord.
I hope
so much, Anissa.
we stay in touch on Instagram. Don't be a stranger. Enjoy your journey, your spiritual journey. It's a very great journey. It's a journey of opening your third eye. It's a journey of helping people. Nititogoza mkhulu. Ngiyabonga.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Hello. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, and you?
I'm good, thanks. Can we get started?
Yes, definitely, we can start.
Okay, so hi Nomfundo. Thank you for joining me on this episode. Can you tell my listeners who you are and briefly, before we dive into the topic, so just about yourself, and then we'll dive into the topic of identifying.
Okay, can I please have 1 second to get to a place that's a lot more quiet?
No worries.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. So can you tell my listeners who you are, just a brief description of who you are before we dive into the topic?
Okay, so my name is Nomfundo Tambule. I'm a poet. I'm still a student. I'm studying engineering. yeah, I never really know how to explain who I am because I feel like I'm still learning a lot of myself right now. So basically, all I can tell you is what I do. But yeah, that's basically me.
Yes, who you are. And how's been your journey of identifying, and how do you identify?
My journey has been so stressful. Hey, um, it took a lot for me to actually figure out where exactly I fit in. It was not an easy journey. I didn't just like know exactly which box. I feel like when you're growing up and you're learning about yourself and you're starting to find pieces of yourself, and you see yourself from different perspectives, a lot about what you thought you were changes. So my journey
True.
has been it's not even like over yet. I'm still in the process of finding exactly where I identify. So currently I identify as queer.
Yes.
The reason I choose to identify as queer is because, like I said, I'm still learning a lot about myself and a lot about my sexuality and learning different expressions of my sexuality. So I feel like I'm more comfortable in saying that I am queer in the broader aspect of it because then when I get to learn more, I can then really figure out exactly where I fit in.
Yeah. And because you identify as queer, how has the people around you, let me put it as family, friends, how have they received that? Because you're still trying to figure it out. So how do the people, your immediate people, feel about that?
I think my immediate people are very supportive and understanding. For example, my sister, I'll use her as an example.
Yeah.
She knows that I prefer to be with females. She doesn't label me as anything. She just knows what my preference is, and she's very understanding of the journey that I am taking. My friends too are very understanding, and okay, some of the people in my space assume that I am lesbian.
Yes.
But I get why. So it's not like I'm not labeling me or anything. I get you. It's okay. You can call me that. I did identify as lesbian for a long time. So yeah, I think they're very supportive. I haven't really had any bad incidences with the people in my personal space, in my intimate space. So
yeah. Okay. So because you're still identifying and because you're still learning, does this mean that you have not come out yet, or do you believe in the concept of coming out?
I don't really, when it comes to the concept of coming out, I'm like two-sided about it.
Yeah.
You know, there are people who are like coming out is unnecessary. You don't need to do that because straight people don't come out.
Yeah.
And then there are people, yeah. And then there are people who feel like they need to come out to their families to sort of break, to let them know exactly what is happening in their life or whatever. So the concept itself, I think I'm okay with it and I'm not okay with it.
Yeah.
So in terms of the fact that okay, it sucks that we as gay people have to come out,
Yes.
whereas
Heterosexual.
heterosexual people don't have to. So that kind of sucks. But then I'm okay with the concept. Like, for example, I came out to my family, my sister,
Yes.
and I felt like I needed to do that so she could get to learn another part of me as well, because it was like there was always this wall between us, and there were things we could never talk about because she didn't know this part of me. So I came out to I also came out on my social media. I came out as, I think when I came out, I never put a label on myself. I just I have a girlfriend, and we started a YouTube channel, and I started putting that out there, started seeing and sort of making the assumption on their own. So you could sort of call that coming out,
True.
but
indirectly so. Yeah.
yeah.
You did mention that you haven't really received any form of, just some form of injustice or selfish treatments from your immediate people in your circle. But have you ever faced it within society at large, especially having to go to a restaurant with your girlfriend or go to a club or travel? Have you faced some form of injustice, and how did you face it?
It's the subtle things, Anita. I remember with my girlfriend, it's the smallest things, like I can't really walk around the streets with her and hold her hand, because people will react. We once had some taxi was passing by us and she was holding my hand, and the driver said something. I can't really remember what he said, but he was reacting to her holding my hand. So it's that discomfort that society creates for us in their spaces. So every time you're outside in public, it's constantly being aware of the fact that not everyone is going to accept you, and not everyone is going to be welcoming of what you are. So do not really, it's like trying to hide, but not trying to hide at the same time. So just that discomfort. And I remember back in high school, there was this girl I was dating, and again, even then, I didn't feel the need to come out and tell everyone, listen, guys, I date girls. But I dated a girl, and there was one other girl who came to me and she asked me, oh my God, are you dating that girl? And I was like, oh my goodness, people are calling me, Nita. So I was like, yeah, I am. But even when I answered, I was not sure if I should answer if I should tell her the truth or tell her, no, I'm not dating her, I'm straight. Or because it was coming like an attack, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
With me, it's always been the subtle things from people I know, just remarks and just ooh.
It's always those unsettled things indeed that get to people. I've always been a person who believes in pushing the boundaries beyond. I remember back in high school, you just made me remember, I used to date this girl, and I was in boarding school and she was a day scholar, so I would accompany her to go get her taxi to go home. And as we approached the taxi rank, I would kiss her. And that caused a lot of havoc. And I mean, I was in grade 11 at that time, but I really didn't care. And I think I still have the same mentality of pushing boundaries, even in the corporate world. I work for an engineering firm, and I now kind of correct people when they ask, because people assume when they see feminine representing, oh, and I've got a son, and it will be like, so where's your husband? And I'm like, I don't have a husband. You know, so trying to teach people, I feel like we still are forced to teach people to treat people as humans and not assume and accept them the way they are, you know? How would you like the world to view the LGBTIQ community in its totality? Like, how do you envision the world to treat us? Because right now I feel like sometimes we treated as if we are very much of a minority, or we treated as if being gay, queer, bisexual, trans is contagious. So how would you want the world to view us in the long run?
I feel like I just want them to be more accepting and more open-minded. I feel like a lot of the people in the world see the world in a binary way, like it's either this or that. And that's never the case. That's never the case. There are people who fit in the middle, and there's a lot of us. So just open your mind up to the fact that not everybody is going to be like you. Not everyone is going to have the same preferences as you. I remember when, even in the gay community, I think maybe be more open-minded. And I wish the world could stop creating so many boxes for us, because everyone is trying to fit into this box. And when you realize that you don't fit, that's when you feel like something is wrong with you. But if the box wasn't created to begin with, then you'd be comfortable in your expression and expressing who you are in any way. So I just feel like I need the world to be more open-minded and more accepting, and understand that not everybody is the same. We don't like the same things. We don't have the same preferences. So yeah.
So if you had the power to change the narrative of how our community is viewed, what would be the first thing to change? So just one thing, if you had the power, let's say if you were made president today and you had to change one thing for our community, what would that be?
The sexualization of our community by hetero people. For example, bisexual people experience this a lot, I've actually noticed, where people assume this sexual energy when somebody says they're bisexual, like it's like an open invitation to a threesome, those kind of things. That is definitely what I would change.
No, I face it every day of my life. I think I've gotten to the point where I've just given up. I mean, bisexuals, not only from the heterosexuals, bisexual, even within the gay community, we literally treated like the minority, or the undecided people. And I think generally, that has a long way to go. So if you were to go back in time, right? So if you had to go back in time to tell your younger self advice, what would that be?
Oh my gosh, love yourself, all of yourself. When I was young, I had a lot of issues with my sexuality. I think I've always known that I like girls, Nita, but there was that thing that it's not normal. You should be with a boy, girls date boys, and all of that programmed into my subconscious sort of. But I knew, and I wish I had accepted it from get-go. I had instances where I'd be like, you know what, I know what I am. I like girls and I'd pursue dating females. But then there would always be those moments where I'm like, oh no, but what I'm doing is wrong. And I wish I never did that to myself, because it just caused a lot of pain and confusion for me at a very young age. So I'd tell the younger me to love herself, all of herself, and to express her sexuality more, and to just be who I am, basically. Just be Mfundo completely.
At the beginning, I had asked you who you were and to briefly, tell us about yourself. And you said you're a student and you're an engineering student. How do you want to be received in the engineering world per se? And the reason why I'm asking this is actually close to home, because I sit on diversity and inclusion committee in my workspace for an engineering firm, and we're always trying to change how people are perceived, and when new people come in, graduates or whoever, on how people are treated within the company. But with your energy coming from university, going into an engineering firm, what would you want to be received as? Like, what type of workplace would you imagine would be inclusive for you and how you identify?
I think when it comes to workplace and inclusion, I think most of it is not necessarily the firm. Okay, if the firm were to say we don't employ these kinds of people, then obviously it's the firm's problem. But if I go to an engineering company and I'm employable by them for whatever reason, and they employ me, it's the people inside the firm, I think, that build up those that separate themselves and create these exclusions for other people. So I just want to be received as a Black queer woman, and I want that to be understood and not judged, and not I don't even know how to put it, but just receive me as I am. Receive me as human, actually. Receive me as human. Receive everyone as human. Yeah.
And I guess that's the end goal. But I guess a lot of corporate companies still have a long way to go, and having pioneers. And I feel like having young students coming into the corporate world, also having to change that narrative in how you'd want an environment to be. So for the company I work for, we now have unisex bathrooms. There is no male, female. We therefore want everybody to feel included regardless of who they are. And also we've started changing, I mean, our signatures in our company, you can put your pronouns. At the same time, we've changed the language of saying married to husband and wife, and we've said the common language is to use partner, and not assume. And I mean, we're really trying to change working environments, and I hope as you get to that level, I know you said you want to be treated as human, and that's what people should do, because we all bleed the same blood. But actually having to push boundaries of this, I feel like there's a long way to go, and we still have so many boundaries to push. But because you're so fresh from university going into a corporate world, you're going to have to push many more other boundaries, because we have colleagues that are married to females, we've got colleagues who have husbands, and we started making it a thing of you can put your husband or your partner as your profile on your computer, so that it's easier for people to realize that do not assume who I am, know who I am, you know. So hopefully that will change with time as I always say, as the generation goes, because I believe the younger people are going to have an easier future compared to how we've been raised and how we have to actually live our life. So if you would give advice to somebody, right, who's trying to figure out who they are, what would be the advice that you'd give them?
Take your time. Listen to your body, your hormones, your feelings. Take your time. When it comes to attraction, I actually recently just learned something about split attraction, something I didn't even know, and it made a lot of things make sense. So take your time, figure it out. It's a journey, it's a process. You don't have to have it all figured out in the beginning, but eventually you will know exactly who you are and who you prefer to be with. So take your time with it. Do research if you don't understand certain things. If you want to, if for example you feel like you identify as lesbian, maybe find out what that actually means. What does it mean to be bisexual, pansexual, trans, asexual? Find out what all of these things mean. That way it will be easier for you to identify completely as one thing. And if you don't feel like you fit into any of it, it's okay to just be queer and not necessarily forcefully fit yourself into a specific category.
True. I like when you raised the phrase by saying split attraction, because this platform is about teaching people. Can you just give us like 2 seconds of what that means? What does split attraction mean?
So sexual attraction and romantic attraction are not necessarily parallel. So you might not feel both of them for the same gender or group of people per se. So you are capable of being romantically attracted to a certain group of people, however being sexually attracted to another group of people, or both. So this is something I recently learned, because I noticed that when you ask people, okay, when you talk about being bi, gay, lesbian, etc., it's like I am attracted to these people. However, that attraction can also be broken down, and you'll find that you're actually attracted to maybe a certain group romantically and another group sexually, or you may be attracted to one group in ways. So that's something I recently learned.
That's quite interesting. That's really interesting. You taught me something today, and I'm also going to look into it. I'm always keen to learn, always keen to know who I am. I mean, I've also gone through the journey of, I really don't like labels. I do not understand why we must be put in boxes. But I made it easier for people, and I thought making it easier for people and say that I was bisexual made it easy. But then I sat down, actually like a couple of years ago, maybe 2 years ago, where I was like, but how about if I like trans people, does that change, you know? So
exactly.
I just like people. I'm a person who's solely attracted to souls. to energies and vibrations. So I really don't care what's in someone's pants per se. So yeah, I guess you are right. It's a never-ending journey. So because we don't want to prolong it.
It's a constant learning.
It is. And I just want a lot of people, my listeners, to understand that. Because my youngest listener to this podcast is 15 that I'm aware of. And the first time they ever approached me was I had to tell a family member of theirs that they are this type of person, and I thought it wasn't my story to share, and so I thought this episode is really dedicated to that person. And I guess she knows herself when she gets to listen to this, is that we all go through this journey, we all learning. We don't have all the answers, we just identify because we love who we love, and we sleep with whomever we wish to sleep with, So before we prolong it, just before we go, where can people find you? How can people support you? Because you're an amazing poet, incredible poet that I've come across. I don't even know how. I was actually saying that to a good friend of mine. I'm like, I don't know how I came across your page. I don't even know how, but I'm grateful that I did. So where do people find you? How can people support you? Is there anything else that you're doing besides poetry? Can people reach out and stuff like that?
All right, so people can find me obviously on my social media. On Instagram, it's Nomfundo the Poet. On Twitter as well. And then you can also find me on YouTube. Subscribe. I have a couple of videos there. Nomfundo Kambule on YouTube. In terms of supporting me, you can support me by sharing my work, coming to events that you can come to if we're in the same geographical area. But yeah, basically just show some support to my work, listen to my work. If you love it, share it with your friends so that the audience gets bigger and a lot more people get to hear me. I do also do YouTube videos with my girlfriend. So you can check that out as well. We do have some videos where we talk about, for example, there's one we did about being gay in South Africa. We talk about certain things that we've experienced as a gay couple in South Africa. We talk about a lot of things, actually, homophobia, internal homophobia as well. Those sort of things. So do check that out. Also, being African and being gay, this whole thing of gay is not African. There's a video that we did where we speak about that as well. So yeah,
that's incredible.
That's where you guys can find me.
You do really have incredible work on YouTube. I get my time to actually watch. I saw on one of your stories and your partner's story that an EP is coming. What type of EP? Where can people find it? Is it music? Is it poetry? Is it an infusion of both? What is it? Where can people find it? When is it coming out?
All right. I will announce the date soon, but in like a couple of months, not very long from now, but I will announce the date on my Instagram. The EP is titled For Black Girls. It's a poetry series about and for Black women. It's actually my first collection of work that I'll be putting out. And I'm so I'm so attached to it in so many ways because I do in some way feel like we need more voices for Black females. There's a lot that we go through, a whole lot, and we need to love ourselves and embrace ourselves more and motivate ourselves amongst us, you know what I mean? So that's the EP. It's a poetry series, like I said, but we've infused it with different sounds. Like I'm actually quite excited because it's so new to me. The things we've been doing on the EP, we've been experimenting a lot with different sounds and making poetry sound a little bit different. So I can't wait for you guys to hear it. yeah, I think it's
That's really great. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining me. And before you leave, I wish you all the best. Keep on growing, keep on putting out positive things into the universe, and the universe will respond. So thank you so much, and we'll stay in touch on Instagram.
Thank you so much. Thanks. Thank you for having me.
Bye.
The Unspoken Truth is the catalyst for important and thought-provoking conversations that need to be had. The network tackles social ills, spiritual healing, soul searching, and mental health awareness. To subscribe, click on the show link to follow our podcast and be part of the Unspoken Truth family. Find us on all social media platforms.